all winning teams use scoreboards. Okay, so if you think of my example of earlier of a basketball match, imagine going to a basketball match. Typically, they're an hour long or 1.5, depends on how much time they spend in between. But basically, you go there and you see one team, shoots a hoop, then the other team shoots a hoop, then and they keep just, playing, but there's no scoreboard. Like you have no idea, and no one on the team has any idea who's winning, who's losing, right? You literally need to think about it in your head, but even that doesn't help because at the end of the day, not having a scoreboard means there are no final rules for what winning and losing looks like. So winning teams always use scoreboards, right? And it's the same in business. Your entire team should be involved in defining the scoreboard. So for example, if it's sales, you can have the scoreboard be number of people reached, number of discovery calls held, number of proposals sent, number of contracts signed, number of or amount of revenue closed, number of products sold, and so on and so forth. Like anything that you want to add onto that scoreboard, you can add. And then once a week, you can measure that scoreboard. You can see, okay, how are we doing? Are we winning or are we losing? And it's the same with everything else. Like, for example, let's say you write content and you do SEO. And you can say, okay, what are some things we care about? Number of content pieces published, number of, let's say, new people coming to the website in terms of traffic, number of new keywords that we are ranking for, etc., etc. Like you can have as many different things on your scoreboard as you want for your specific team or your specific company. However, you have to have a scoreboard if you want to build the mentality of winning team, because winning teams look at the scoreboard. Are we winning or are we losing, right? If you're in office, you can literally put a big scoreboard in the office. I've seen this implemented very successfully in many locations. Or if you are remote, you can have like a dashboard that people have access to, whether that's a Google Sheet or whether you use something like Alvanda, like we use in our companies. But basically, you can have a dashboard that says, hey, are we winning or are we losing? A few characteristics of that dashboard is, number one, there should be a full explanation of everything that we're measuring. Like we need to explain what that means so everyone's on the same page. Number two, it should be very easy to update. It shouldn't take more time in my day. Like I should very easily be able to look at my CRM and see how many calls did I make today. 27. Okay, and I just update my scoreboard. Or maybe I have a smart CRM that updates the scoreboard automatically. However, whatever the case may be, it should be incredibly easy to do. The scoreboard will help you fix anything that's inconsistent within your business. What do I mean by that? If your goal is to make you more revenue in the long run, but the only thing your team is selling in terms of products is a product that we know has a 3-month churn rate in general, or the product itself is 3 months long, not year long, then we know that sooner or later your company can go bankrupt. So we don't want that. We want people to sign up to the year-long or to the multi-year long programs. And if we're not selling those, we know that we're in danger. So it will help you fix inconsistencies in how you manage the team and how you set expectations for everyone, how you agree on strategic initiatives of what we could do differently, what we can sell differently, what we can say differently on calls, and so on and so forth. When you talk about setting goals or setting certain expectations for your team, you will notice that vague goals lead to failure. What do I mean by a vague goal? And I see this implemented everywhere in the world, and it's very sad to see. So some of the vague goals can be, for example, we are committed to enhancing the relationship with our customers. Or we are committed to enhancing our relationship with our customers. That's the goal. And you see this in companies, like you legitimately see this type of goal in companies. And I look at the goal, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What do you mean what it means? Like we have a better relationship with our clients if we succeed. How? Well, they will like us more. Why? Right? And so you can ask a bunch of stupid questions to, vague goals. However, if you have very concrete and very specific goals, like for example, we will increase our client satisfaction rate from 70%, which it is now, to 90% by the end of the quarter. That's a very specific goal, and that's measurable, right? And so based on that, you can set everything you need in terms of lead measures and lag measures within the scoreboard, so that people know, hey, I haven't talked to this client in 2 weeks. I should pick up the phone, or I should email them. I should see what's going on. I should check up on their account. I should whatever, right? And make sure that, you know, they're very satisfied with whatever service that you are providing to them. And it's the same for employees, and we're going to go into that in a second. So for now, the only action step I want you to take is to make sure that you have scoreboards. Make sure that every scoreboard is explained, every item on the scoreboard, and make sure everyone inputted into what they believe will lead to success, because then you get buy-in. Okay, I can do this, you can do that, the other person can do something. Once you have a scoreboard, we go to the next subchapter in the book, which is making progress every single week. Okay, so within your business, you want to measure certain things yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. When it comes to important initiatives that people take, like for example, making calls, or let's say engaging in client surveys or things of that nature, typically you want to meet with the entire team at least on a weekly basis. The things that people do, they can measure daily. So you can say, hey, these are the things that every single day you should measure. Remember the Digger role descriptions. Within the role descriptions, in the accountability section, you should have daily, you should update this. Weekly, you should report on this. Monthly, you should report on this, whatever it is in your case, but make sure it's very clear. So people can, on a daily basis, make or update the sheet or update the tool or whatever it is, or the tool might update themselves. Basically, on a daily basis, you can keep track of how people are progressing. And then on a weekly basis, you should have a checkup on how people are doing on their MEOs. So MEOs is what we call most important outcomes. I've learned this from Aaron. I call them different. I had a different name for them before, but MEOs are great. So a most important outcome is basically a sub-outcome of whatever the role is. So remember, we talk about hiring for outcomes, not for tasks. We've talked about this many times. And so the outcome of a role might be to get or increase revenues by at least 10% month after month. This can be the outcome of a sales manager or director of sales. But that's an overarching outcome. That's a general outcome. So on a week-by-week basis, what are we going to do to help us get closer to that main overarching outcome? We will set MEOs for ourselves. So for example, what MEOs, most important outcomes, again, can a director of revenue put themselves so that they reach their overarching desired result of their role? For example, they can say, update phone scripts, right? Because people are making phone conversations, review and update or improve phone scripts based on the data that we have and based on some calls that I can listen to the recording of. Another thing they can do, look at events relevant within our industry and pick one that we can go to where we can either be a speaker, we can have a booth or whatever, right? These are two outcomes. You can have multiple different outcomes during a week. We don't recommend more than 5 outcomes because there are 5 business days typically in a week, and you shouldn't have more than one main outcome. There's an amazing book on the subject. It's called The One Thing or One Main Thing or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but basically it teaches you to set one important outcome for every single day in your life, right? So if you have a day off, you can say, my main outcome today is to, just get an extra 4 hours of sleep or spend time with my children, whatever. If you're at work, you have the outcomes that you set in the weekly MEO meetings, right? So you can have a weekly meeting with everyone in your team. And so everyone on the team sets their outcomes, but they don't set them on the call. And this is very important. And we teach this in all of our businesses. To the MEO meeting, everyone comes with their outcomes already set for the next week, and their updates already tracked based on the MEOs from last week. So what everyone should report on is, number one, based on what meals I set for myself last week, which ones did I succeed on, which one did I fail at? Let's say you have 5 meals, you succeeded on 3 of them, and 2 of them you failed at. And then you have 5 new meals for this week, right? And so if the 2 you failed at were very, very critical and you should really have done them, then the manager can give you feedback. Wait, that's not okay. It's not okay that you failed at those and you're postponing the achievement of those things by another week. We still need them done this week. What are you going to do about it, right? So that's what a MEO call is for. You get a two-sided conversation between people that report on and set MEOs and the managers of those individuals, so that you can have a good flow of progress week to week to week. Okay, and if you implement this, you'll see people will tend to love it, because instead of focusing on when I came to work, or how much time I spent doing this, or what tasks I've done, I just care about the MEOs. Did I hit my MEOs or not? There are always ways in which you can focus, and what we recommend is that you guys always focus on your priorities, right? So you set priorities for the quarter always, and then we should always focus our MEOs around those priorities. For example, if the main priority for the sales team this quarter is to increase conversion rates, because maybe they already reach out to 100,000 people a month and the conversion rates are abysmal, like they barely speak to maybe 50 people, so that's a 0 point something % conversion rate, or less than 50 people. Maybe the goal for this quarter is to increase conversion rates. So reach out to less people, basically burn less leads, and get more of those leads to actually hop on a call. If that is the case, the MEOs of your team should be structured around that goal, so that everyone feels that they can, or they are helping you to win in that sense. That doesn't mean that every other priority that I have in my role is deleted. So for example, if one of my priorities is outreach, like reaching out to a certain number of people, I shouldn't stop doing that. The only difference is that, let's say, maybe 3 of my MEOs are to do outreach, like to reach out and generate new leads, and 1 of my MEOs, let's say I have 4 for the week, is one thing I can do to increase conversion rate. Like for example, do more prospecting, or segment people better and write better scripts based on those user segments. Whatever one thing I can do every single week to help my entire team increase conversion rates this quarter, because that's the most important thing for the quarter, I will feel like I'm contributing. I won't feel like every week is the same week on repeat and every day is the same day on repeat. I will feel that I'm constantly thriving towards something more, right? And that's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. All of us feel it when we have MEO meetings, and we're very excited at the end of the meeting, because now we know, okay, these are the 3 to 4 things I need to get done until next week, and my team will progress towards this goal. It's very important for these MEO meetings that we're aware of everyone's goals on the team, because again, some people might have goals that have nothing to do with the overarching business goal. So if they have goals like that, again, we can't expect all of their MEOs to be assigned, based on the new goal that we have for the quarter. We need to understand them. We need to be on the same page. And then you will see that people pace themselves, right, in a very interesting way. Some people are very ambitious and they want to do 8 MEOs a week, right, because they can. Other people, are more conservative. They put 3 MEOs for themselves, 2 of the tasks that they have to do on a regular basis and 1 new one, right? And so be careful with how you do that. At the same time, you as the manager, you should know everyone's limits, and everyone should be on the same page whether or not they are adding enough value to the company and what type of value they're adding. This basically leads to teamwork that you can feel, right? And so Henry Ford said it very, very well. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and then working together is success. Having clearly defined roles, having the lead and lag measures and transparent for everyone, having MEO meetings and talking with people every single week, that is what leads to everyone working together. So please schedule your MEO meetings explain it to everyone. Those are your action steps. That's what you need to do. Make sure that moving forward, you have a scoreboard up, and your Mio meetings will help you hit those markers on the scoreboard. Okay. Now, let's move on a little bit to the side of business-wide goals, and let's move on to individual people. So you will find that the more you engage with and care about the individual people within your company, the more chances you have of them actually caring about you as well. Because and then this is why I started my companies in the first place, because whenever I would go to other companies and they wouldn't really care about me and about what I do and so on and so forth, I would feel like, why am I even here? They don't care if I'm here, right? I mean, they care in the sense that I'm making and getting their results, but that's the only thing they care about. If it would be someone else doing the same thing, they wouldn't care if they're called Robert or Michael or Daniel. That's not the vibe, or that's not the vibe we want in our businesses or in our companies. And we recommend in the book that shouldn't be the vibe that you have in your businesses, that people don't really care, about the business, or they don't really think you care about them either. So what can you do about that? So what we do and what we've developed over the years and perfected over the years are what we call PDPs, or personal development plans.